Hello. Welcome to Ask Ms. Myrz, where we answer your most burning questions and solve your most nagging problems. I won't always know the answer, but I'll know someone who will. It's an understatement to say that the pandemic has had severe effects on everyone's mental health. Feelings of fear, anxiety, helplessness, hopelessness, and sleeplessness pervade. What's more, social isolation is not human nature, and social distancing and staying home in quarantine only makes things worse. There's been a worldwide upsurge in mental health issues and symptoms, so we really need to prioritize our mental health before it's too late. To help us address all these today is Dr. Gia Sison, also known as Doc Gia, the National Advisor of the Youth for Mental Health Coalition, head of the Makati Medical Wellness Center, and the Philippine leader of the Live Strong Foundation. She's an occupational medicine practitioner and a breast cancer survivor. Welcome, Doc Gia. Hello,
Hi,
Doc Gia.
Myrz.
Hi, how are you?
Hello. I'm good. How about you? And super thanks for inviting me to your
Thank
show.
you too. I have behind me like a picture of peace of mind. If you could paint a
Sobra,
picture of that.
I love it. It's so parang sobrang serene niya.
And how's your mental health today?
Well, I'm thriving.
Okay,
Thriving
right.
on, ganun naman yata. I mean, it came to a point that we really just have to accept the situation and make do with what we have.
Right. And
So,
today we're going to learn how to do that. First of all, let's have a background about you. You practice occupational medicine. What is occupational medicine?
it's a branch of family medicine where we deal with yung workplace sector naman. So
Right.
we are heavily involved when it comes to formulation of health policies in the workplace, health
Okay.
programs, etc. So primarily that's what we do.
Right.
Then yeah, ano pa
And
ba?
the workplace is the home, right? So I'm sure it
Exactly.
has special uh, considerations for that.
Yep, and I'd always believe kasi you have two homes eh. It's either
Right.
your home and your work, then
Right.
home or school.
Right.
Pero, times have changed, mirrors, and parang it got blurred na rin in a way for
Right.
all of us, working from
Right.
home and studying from home.
Right. It's all integrated now. We can't compartmentalize anymore.
That's
So
true.
you're a breast cancer survivor, and after you were cleared of cancer, you made it your mission to help others.
Yes,
Is that
super.
And how did you start advocating for mental health?
Well, during my chemotherapy sessions kasi, mirrors, it really can it can really be super sad. So that's my term. And then, but thanks to my family, they have been super supportive, and of course my friends, etc. And then, parang during those days, I've come to realize that support really matters.
Right.
So, me talking it out, like my feelings, whenever I'm sad, like after chemo, I would talk to my husband or my parents. And parang just the mere, parang yung parang nailabas mo siya, how you
Wow.
feel, really helps, no?
Right.
And so parang I realized that, of course, I'm a believer of mental health, pero parang it got extra when I underwent, well, I really consider that as my biggest regret. But ang dami rin niyang lessons eh. So, um, that's what it taught me. Then, yun, nag-ripple effect na siya after I survived and recovered. I made it a mission to also advocate for the importance of mental health. Then timing naman, yeah, the mental health law was being passed as
Right.
as years go by. Then yun, and of course, breast cancer, the advocacy of breast cancer will always be something parang that triggered everything.
Right. So
So
you're
yeah,
you're the national advisor of the Youth for
use for
Mental
mental health.
Health Coalition. Can you tell us something about this group?
It's a group of it's a youth led. It's an NGO. where they advocate for mental health. And parang mga kids ko na sila. I mean, parang
Oh,
they're really an active organization. They have a lot of advocacies, support groups, and I would say they really played a huge part in lobbying for the mental health law. So
wow.
they're very active. That's why if we have viewers who really need also help in terms of reaching out
Right.
whenever they parang they have questions, they can always message them on their Facebook account, and they're very responsive.
Okay, so now that we have a mental health law, how
Mhm.
have things changed from the time when there was not? Like, I saw you on TV before the law came to be, and you were talking about the stigma of mental
Super,
health.
yeah. Mhm.
How is there still a stigma now, or is it better?
It's kind of better. There's still stigma, but I have to say that because of the law, there's more education.
Right,
And during the past months, I really appreciate uh, private organizations, companies who have really um, lobbied for the importance of mental health, most especially during these times. And then stigma, yes, Mears, it's still
right,
there. But
right,
we are like, that's the whole, ano eh, parang we aim na maging zero yung stigma. And that's why we talk about it
right.
often because that really helps addressing or busting the stigma against mental health.
Right. So COVID has brought with it so many issues. I saw an article on CNN today saying it's not you, these are really crazy times. And so na-exacerbate pa yung kung anumang issues there are. What can you say about this? And how has it been in these past few 8 months?
Yeah, mga 8 months na. Because parang at first, because let's face it, this pandemic was something that was, hindi naman natin to
Yeah,
ina-expect na, it was
right,
something
right.
uncertain.
Definitely.
So, during the first part, parang, for lack of a better term, it was still parang okay.
Yeah.
But as it lags along, parang it has already taken its toll.
Right,
And anxiety is one common feeling because
right,
we're
right,
faced now with something that we're not even sure of. And it's something new, and everything, literally everything, had to change.
right.
And I think that it that's the main that's a root cause as well.
So many changes to adjust to, not to
Yeah,
mention
super.
losing our loved ones,
Yeah,
cabin fever, di ba? Parang
exactly.
nagpatong-patong na. Uh, so it's obviously very important to prioritize our mental health. But what will happen if we do not? I mean, even if there's an awareness, it's very easy to deprioritize it, right? And
Mhm.
especially for women running households, everyone else is the priority except for herself. What will happen if we do not prioritize our mental health?
When we define kasi health mirrors, it's really three aspects. Eh. Physical, there's a mental aspect, and the social part. So we really cannot separate mental health from the holistic
Right,
from a holistic standpoint of talking about health. We don't also want it to reach a point where everybody breaks down in
right,
a not good way. So um, I'd always believe that we have to take a proactive approach. Uh, During my battle with cancer, whenever I recall it 8 years ago, but I should have done a self breast exam. Yeah, but those are the things that
right,
parang
right,
I
right,
failed. I kept talking about it, but I wasn't practicing it.
right.
So now I'm talking about it because I have parang kind of learned my lesson 8 years ago. So really advocating for something that's really also close to you is something that you should also walk your talk at the same time.
Right. So it's easy, right, to say, naku, ano ba tong nafe-feel ko? Wala lang siguro to, di ba? Or baka,
Yeah.
ano, moody lang ako, or may sumpong na naman si mommy, or 'di ba, or
Mm-mm.
masungit na naman siya. What are some of those small clues that might point us in the way of really confronting our mental health?
Well, for one, it's really helpful if we would really acknowledge how we feel.
Right.
Um, Sabi nga, there's this study from Harvard. We really have to get to this point of being able to name our emotions,
Right.
of being able to label it like I'm sad. But there are days really na you wouldn't really know also how you feel. And that's
Right.
okay. That's where support comes in. But I think the first step in being able to cope talaga is to acknowledge that it's there.
Right.
Um, Face it talaga, and learn to also kind of reach out because um, we can't handle it kasi all by ourselves. Eh. We also need the help of others. So that's the power of support when it comes to
Right.
this.
What's like a concrete example of acknowledging how you feel? Like in
Like
your experience.
like there are days na talagang I'm super down. Like I
I
can't,
mean,
but
ikaw
I
na yan,
just
ah. Ikaw na
like
yan.
ano siya, grabe siya. Yung parang there are days when I really just wanna isolate myself. I wanna be alone. And it's kind of a process, mirrors of even
Right.
accepting that feeling of wanting to isolate yourself because nga parang I'm getting tired of all these issues that I'm confronted.
Right.
So parang having to accept that is already difficult.
Right.
But parang I kind of already and but I kind of parang realize that sometimes it's also parang shifting your perspective na it parang it might be telling me something. There's a
Right.
pattern, and it kind of also taught me that there are really some things that you can't control in life. But
Right.
what you can control is how you
Right.
behave towards it and how you see it. So
Right.
yun, that was my personal
Right. And
processing.
what are the common things that you are told or are brought up with you
Oh,
na
okay.
na
Oh, oo.
nafe-feel ng lahat besides stress eating, which is my way of coping?
Yeah. Um, well, one thing talaga I don't like, and I really would tell this talks, is whenever someone opens up to you about how he or she feels, yung sasabihin mo na, wala yan, parang,
Yeah,
yung
okay.
parang ano kasi, parang that's one way of, parang I feel that my feelings are invalidated. So,
Right,
I
right,
think
right,
that's also one message that we want to get it out, na all feelings are really valid
right,
in whatever form it takes because never assume also that the other person is strong enough to
right.
handle kasi 'di
Or
ba parang we all have our loads parang
right.
thresholds.
What if you're told, kaya mo yan? Is that bad?
Well, two things, no. It's okay kasi parang it's parang encouraging to
Okay.
say na kaya mo yan, but at the same time ibabalance mo rin siya in a way that you assure the person that it's okay to feel that way. Help is
Right,
there,
right,
and that you'll get through. Parang it's more of how you communicate it.
right,
Um, Yun, kasi, and it's ano it's an individual. It's really based on the person. Like
right.
me, pag sinabihan mo ako ng kaya mo yan, oh yeah, okay. Parang okay. Pero
Pero,
pero tulungan mo ako. Parang
right,
ganon yung
right,
it comes to a point that yeah, kaya mo yan, but I also need help.
right. Some of the feelings that at least I see people posting, or even things that I feel, are
Mhm.
feelings of inadequacy, especially if you lost your job or you lost your income, diba?
That's
Parang,
true.
or your business is failing. What do you do in these cases? Like, acknowledge how you feel. So I feel terrible. I feel powerless. And then what?
I just personally, we all were, we all felt the impact of the pandemic.
Right.
And to acknowledge the loss of jobs, everyone. There was this psychologist, her name is Pauline Boss. She
Okay.
said that we all suffer from ambiguous loss, meaning to say we have lost parang chances or even like ito, how I wish I could see you in person. These are your parang losses that has been
Right.
caused by the pandemic. But what I personally do is I just listen to the person, parang hearing them out and
Right.
just being with them really
Right.
matters.
Right. And maybe listening without trying to solve it for
Active,
them, you
exactly.
know.
Active
Right.
listening. Yeah, yeah.
Number two. Oh,
There's
go
this
ahead.
saying that I love kasi Myrz, sabi, I just forgot the author who said, but pero sabi niya, when we listen, we have to listen to understand instead of listen to
Yes.
react. Kasi para
Yes.
meron tayong, when we
Uh-uh.
listen, parang, nagpo-formulate na tayo ng
Ng,
advice. But
ng, ano,
unknowingly, baka kailangan lang talaga ng
to
no,
be
listening
heard.
ear to be
To be
heard.
heard. Right.
Yeah.
We're preparing our thesis defense already.
Yeah.
Number two is accept and face stressors. So what are
Yep.
the common stressors ngayon besides the obvious na COVID, ano pa?
Stressors. Well, your family can be a stressor. Kasi you're
True.
together nga and but me kasi personally again, I really believe kasi in being able to, verbalize what you need
Right.
and also giving space. Parang hindi mo rin kasi matatakasan ng family. So,
Uh,
okay lang na and the definition of family has evolved
right.
na your friends can be family. So
Right.
I think also one way is to being able to, talk about it,
Right.
face it, acknowledge it, again, name it. And
Right.
then we also do what we can. Kasi we
Right.
have to acknowledge also that there are some things that we can't do now. So we do what we can with what we have at the present moment. So
Right.
yun, that one day at a time, literally,
Right.
years.
What are some things that we can do? I mean, we can't do anything about COVID. We can't do anything about how long it will last
Right.
or the declarations of ECQ, GCQ, kung ano man. What can we do in these
We can
times?
be kind.
Oh, that's important, right?
We can be kind because I think really and extra at that, because um I always say everything seems to be extra, especially nowadays when we're starting to rebuild
Right,
uh, anything in whatever form it takes. So we can be extra kind. We can be extra a bit patient about that. It's really gonna take time for us to be, and for me, this is gonna be how our lives would. It's gonna be a complete change, and that's
right,
also one thing we need to kind of accept little by
right,
little. So those are things that we can do. The rest kasi are really are things that we can't control.
right. What's a way to verbalize to your family your needs without offending them, especially parents, spouse,
Mhm.
di ba? I mean, kung nakakulong pa in one small space, I'm sure tempers will flare.
That's
Everyone is
true.
masungit. What is your advice for these situations where we
Totoo yan. Yeah.
di ka
Well,
makapag-isolate?
merong, well, we have positive diversions. Dito na papasok yung you can write, I mean, write how you feel,
Right,
get into something that parang medyo you love, like it's all on the internet, technology, like do art, exercise. That's very
right, right,
important. And having a support system is also important more than ever. So I think those are the things that we can do. Um, kasi sabi nga, me rin, I'm I'm really a firm believer na if you are too mad or you're too happy, parang wag ka magde-decide. Yung parang gano'n, parang,
Okay.
'di ba? Parang
Don't make
kasi,
big decisions kung galit or
yeah.
sad.
And if you're galit, parang mag-walk away ka na lang instead of, saying something na makasakit ka or parang
Right.
gano'n yung idea.
What I'm hearing about Ren is it's the moms who are really breaking down kasi parang pasa nila yung daigdig, di ba? Parang they're running, they're especially working moms, right? They're working and then they're attending to their children and then they're attending to the housework because the help is in the province and sometimes the
Yeah, that's
spouse
true.
doesn't help, right? What's a way for moms to cope? I mean, is it so? I think it's very hard for the Pinay actually to ask for help from the kids and the husband to do chores. What do you want to say about that?
Well, lately naman, I have been seeing that even the dads are getting involved. But that's true, ha. I
That's
have to take
good.
it from an angle also of me seeing my kids. Kasi online learning is a challenge.
Yeah.
And my issue, naging venting. And my main challenge is really to communicate to how it goes.
Right, right,
That's true, no? Because I'm working at the same time, and at the same time, um, parang it's really, basta, ibang klase.
right,
You start to become the teacher, the
right,
monitor, but all at the same time. So,
right,
parang this is also an appeal to the schools to kind of get also involved na.
right, right,
When it comes to feedback, because we see it we see it firsthand how our kids are taking online learning, how it's getting into them in a way, parang it's getting overloaded. So yun,
right.
that's a real thing that I'm
Right.
undergoing. So
Okay,
yeah, but I see naman that it's really the dads are
that's
already
good.
parang
That's good.
operating also, yeah.
Right. So number three, you say practice self-compassion. How are we not compassionate to ourselves?
Okay. Although yun, I think acknowledging how we feel is the start.
Right.
And don't be guilty na to rest. Because
Okay.
the work from home here, we have a comment from Owen Santos na that the work from home setup kind of hypes on the inadvocacy part na parang for me, I hope we move away from it kasi we're doing our best despite the
Right.
pandemic. So
Right.
we're all doing our part. And hindi rin naman expected yung productivity talaga. It's really boosted kasi nga everything has changed. So I think practicing self-compassion is just like realizing that you need to take a break and from your routine inject self-care activities also.
Right.
So for me that's very important and we all deserve it. It's like
Right.
before you can even function, you have to be kind to yourself to acknowledge that you need to rest.
Right. What are the ways where you can practice such self care? Because sometimes I'm sure women are especially guilty of, although self care is such a thing now, di ba, medyo uso siya, but then still, I guess may guilt complex talaga yung women about carving out time for themselves. For example, you're so busy. What are the ways where you yourself practice self care?
Okay.
Natawa.
Oo nga. So, for me, my personal take on self-care is really about setting your boundaries, both personal and professional.
Right.
Number two, it's also learning how to say no because we have this tendency to really overwhelm ourselves with everything to the point na we can't function anymore. And I think learning to say no is part of self-care. That's why nga the real face of self-care is not so pretty, so to speak, but we all need it. Kasi nga,
Right.
if it's already affecting also the quality of your life, it's affecting even like it comes to a point that you're questioning your self-worth. Ayun, parang ano na siya, for me, it's time to parang step back and, start to recalibrate or refocus.
When it comes to saying boundaries, parang culturally rin, medyo alien sa atin yan kasi yes lang tayo ng yes, di ba? We can't even
Yes,
say no
exactly.
to social obligations, even Zoom obligations, di ba? Parang ang dami-daming Zoom occasions and sometimes ayaw mo na lang mag-attend, di ba? But you can't even beg or plead with your boss na kailangan mo mag-attend kasi
Okay.
Hello. Okay. Hang on. We'll bring Doc Gia back. Hello.
Yeah, the tech issues are real.
Hey, speaking of stressors, stress. Okay, tanggalin ko lang Okay, self-compassion. So I forgive myself for the technical issue.
It happens
Sorry,
talaga, Myrz.
no. Where were we?
Kindness,
Self-care, kindness,
saying
to your,
no.
saying no, yes. Like we can't say no and mean it. Like we have to make an excuse, diba? If there Zoom obligations, we'll say,
Yeah,
ay, hindi ako pwede kasi. Then we invent an excuse. Diba?
yeah, that's true.
How
Pero
can we
mahirap din.
learn?
Pero mahirap rin,
Mahirap.
di ba?
Oo. But how can we learn to say no and validate it to ourselves and to others na parang sanayan lang, di ba? Kailangan masanay din yung, I don't
Yeah,
know,
that's true. Pero for me
friends
kasi
natin.
it's also a process kasi sometimes talaga it's really parang ang hirap mag no, no? But um I think self-regulation also comes in.
Right. Right.
So parang we always say anything in moderation is okay. So we have
Right.
to parang apply that also to ourselves in a way
Right. Right.
na sometimes it will help also to parang write down your yeses and your
Right.
nos. Because
Right.
parang there's this um, mindful cue that ito pala yung mga hinindian ko, ito yung mga yes ko. So,
Right.
hi Father
Spend.
Bok.
Oh.
He's yeah, Father Bok Nicholas. Hello.
Oh, ayan. Hello, Doc.
Hi.
I saw rin, parang a meme or an infographic about how to say no in a nice way. Like, I'm
Uy, that's
sure you
nice,
will.
Pairam.
I'm sure it will be such a fun party, but tonight I will just stay in and rest. Mga ganyan. Pati
That's
yun, kailangan ng
true.
script, di ba?
Totoo yan. And you know what? When you get the hang of it, parang when you basta when you just start it,
Right.
parang it
Practice.
already practice it, it already becomes something that you need to say, parang okay na sabihin. Kasi nga,
Right.
'di ba, sometimes oftentimes you get this question, how do we start? And sometimes starting uh just requires us to just do it.
Right.
Parang not put a script so much. Like
Right.
yun, it's okay na I'll rest muna. Um, parang ganon. Parang it goes around that.
Right. Or especially if you're the helpful one in a group or in the family, especially during times of crisis, right?
Yeah,
They're
that's true.
helpful people who always want to be of help, such
Yeah,
that sometimes they don't leave any for themselves and then they also burn out.
Nako, that's true.
So what's your
Sure.
are you is
Burnout
this
talaga.
familiar help parang charity burnout, not just charity but like if you're always volunteering to help, 'di ba, lalo na for
And
times of
ano,
need.
and Mears, during this pandemic, during the first few months, okay pa eh. But there came a point na may donor
Yeah,
fatigue na rin.
right,
Because
right,
we all have to, ano, we all have to restart, and hindi naman, it's not like it's endless. So
right.
it also reached a point where they had, like me, during the first months, we really had to put a stop na kasi because uh, yun, may
I
financial
remember.
burden. Di ba? Remember the first
I
part of
remember those
March?
days you were
Yeah.
always on duty.
So, yung mga ganon, parang ano siya, we get tired. I think we have to acknowledge that. We're not superhuman and we have our limits. And it's important also to know that we did our best. No?
Right,
Somehow we did our part.
right. For me naman, I think I needed to practice self-compassion in the area comparing myself to others, especially social media, right, can trigger
Yes,
uh,
super.
comparison issues, especially when you see, oh my God, they're so productive. Somebody wrote a book, somebody got a six pack because she worked out every day. What? Studied and became a life coach. I'm back. Are you back?
Yes, yes,
Hello?
I'm here. Hello.
Okay.
Wait.
Hello. Ayan.
Journey talaga to, Mir.
we'll, we'll keep trying. Di ba yan ang advice mo lagi? Keep trying.
Ay, ako.
Ayun, comparison.
Yeah, that's true. We actually cope in different ways, and I think we have to like be aware not to fall into the trap of self comparison because
Right.
we all have. It's very easy to say that, but when you're in real life, talagang mahirap siya. That's why I always talk about self regulation because social media can actually be serve us two ways, no? Pwedeng maging positive siya and too much of it can also, affect us in a way.
Right. So for number four, you say all your feelings are valid and so you should honor them. What are
Yes.
some feelings that we may not think are valid?
Sadness is one.
Okay.
Um, Anxiety is one. Um, Here pa. Sometimes happiness is one.
Oh, really?
Sometimes I get to talk to friends, even family, saying that they don't deserve to be happy. Parang feeling
Ah,
nila na we're happy
wow.
now, pero there's parang may kapalit siya. So,
Okay.
ano siya, it really is of different yung angles niya. That's why I always say, lahat ng positive and negative feelings are all valid. You acknowledge them, you you realize that it's really there, and kasi the more we suppress our feelings, the more it gets amplified also. So um, realize that it's okay to feel that way, and that it changes also.
Right. What about negative feelings like anger or even, like I
Yeah,
mentioned earlier, envy? Let's say you validate that. I envy my friend because she's so productive. And then what do you do? How do you honor the feeling of envy?
It's like more of ano, siguro, um, for me, parang normal reaction siya. Siyempre, parang nakikita mo siya eh. But I think a better approach will be, you realize na buti pa siya ganito, pero I'm also
Pero,
capable of doing something that is within my capabilities. Parang ganon, it's more of realizing that we all
right,
have we're all capable of something. It's just that we're not the same.
right.
So we're all unique. So ganun eh, parang I get into that, no? Parang shucks, buti pa siya, naka-travel, buti pa siya,
Maski ikaw,
nakayabot. Oh, ano ka ba?
eh kasi
Yung ba?
parang dapat dalubhasa ka na in mental health. So,
Ay,
tao
hindi
ka
pa
rin
rin.
pala.
Ano ka ba? Happy years. Parang buti pa siya ganito. Pero,
Pero,
ganito rin ako. Like,
okay.
I think it's really a balance. And you find that balance.
Right. And then, for number
Hello,
5,
Ray! Oh, hi, Harry. Hello, Ray!
hello, Ray. Oh, this one is from
Oh,
your
Karen.
schoolmate, Michi.
Oh my God, si Michi!
She said, Lady Gaga once said that social media is the toilet of the internet. Oh, diba?
No naman. Ay, oh, ayan. Michi, grabing terms mo. But it can. Again, it's two ways. No, it can serve you or it can work against you. So me naman, it's really more of advocating for social media responsibility also. Because what you put out there, kaya nga, di ba, there's the saying that you need to think before you ink. Because
Right,
whatever you write or say, it stays in the internet. That's why it's talagang, again, self-regulation. So, my
right,
personal practice is, if I don't really feel good, huwag ka na magpo-post. Parang ganon, parang
right.
hindi lahat ng aspeto sa buhay mo is everyone should know. So,
Right.
it's really a conscious effort one takes.
And for you
Hello,
who,
everyone. Okay.
sorry, for you
My,
who
go ahead.
has 100,000 or over
Oh
100,000
my God.
followers on Twitter, what's that like if meron ka na bang, is it from experience that you say if you're not in a good place, wag na lang mag-post? May nangyari na ba na
Uh, well,
hindi maganda?
I think so. Hindi naman, pero me kasi parang I think so. But it's more of really, hello Karen, hello, oh, hello. Um, it's
Daming
really more of
fans.
so, uh, I post naman sometimes if I really don't feel, and my personal views, I really post it. And sometimes, well, I don't know, pero nung first part of the pandemic, meron talaga mga triggers na kailangan ko i-post.
Oh,
So, but but it was my feeling at the time. So, yun, that's my personal um, journey sa social media. It can get really tricky.
on the other hand, you have been right. Oh, Poveda Triathlon Team.
No, you know what? I would never forget them because when I was battling with cancer 8 years ago, they dedicated a race to all of us who were
Oh,
battling cancer. So talagang sa my hermanas, hats
right.
off talaga.
So the support system that you talk about, it's really important, especially
Super,
now, right? Right.
super.
Like for what you advise about gathering a support system. What if you're an introvert and you don't have many friends? How
Oh,
can you cultivate a support system?
me naman kasi, support system doesn't have to be really big or something
Right.
that's huge. It can start within yourself muna, and then it can start with a family member, or it can start with just a friend. So,
Right.
basta safe space mo siya na pagka sinabihan mo, um, you don't feel judged. And I think we have to gear towards that culture that we can openly share about how we
Right.
feel, but we're not judged because para lang sinabi mo yan, you're weak na, sinabi mo lang
Right.
yan. So parang ganon. I think we have to make do with those labels already and just start
And
being ourselves.
I like what you said about find the support system within yourself.
Yeah,
How can you do that? Like your own cheerleader, ganun ba yun?
yes. Sometimes kasi mirrors it, ako again, kukwento ko to from a personal standpoint. Um, Parang everything is so down na you really have to affirm yourself and celebrate your small wins also na you're making an effort to do
Right.
better, to feel better. So affirming small wins can actually be a step towards um, being your own self-support system. So you can
Right.
start there.
What are some small wins that we may dismiss but are actually worthy of celebration? Besides, I woke up today. That's a
Yeah,
small win.
I
I
woke
got
up.
up today.
I woke up. God, today I was able to eat breakfast. I was able to talk to a friend. I was able to reach out. Yung mga ganong mga small wins. And I was able to help. Parang, or I was able to say no. I was able to acknowledge
Right.
the feeling that I don't really feel good today. Yun, those are really small wins for me.
Or maybe na-practice mo itong step 1 to 5, di ba?
Oo,
Small win, and each step is a small win. And
that's true.
you also say that we should celebrate small wins as well as failures. I saw
Oh
your
my God.
TED talk, your Ateneo TED talk where you said we should celebrate failure. You want to tell us about that?
That talk kasi was really personal sa akin because I was talking about also my, again, I will always go back to my survivorship in terms of being a breast cancer and a survivor, redundant. Because for me kasi that was a big failure sa part ko. But then again, when I celebrate the lessons that I got from it, it kind of made me realize that you really can't what's this, parang appreciate huge wins when you don't acknowledge how you fell in between and the journey that you took. So what really matters is your now and what you did. Parang ganun sa akin yung ano. And let's face it, nobody would. Failure is always ugly, but most of the time that's where success is. When you
Right.
learn to celebrate and learn from your failures, that's when you start to build your own
Right.
successes.
What failures were you talking about in that talk? Like, how did you think you failed?
I feel my health in terms of yeah, it's more of health and within myself. Yung mga goals ko sa buhay. So I was talking about those during that talk of mine. And I would always talk about it kasi para sa akin life is dynamic eh. After naman my breast cancer journey, hindi ko naman nila masasabi na success na rin yan tuloy-tuloy eh.
Right. Right.
It will always be a cycle between
Right.
um, again, failure and success. But I think what matters the most is what you have done to address it and the lessons that you learned.
Right. What are some of the common so-called failures that are being brought up to you by so many people today? Besides, they feel like they're failing. Businesses are failing. I mean, obviously, people are losing their jobs. What are the other ways where people feel inadequate or like a failure that we can re-angle or change our paradigm? in order to make it more positive, in your opinion?
Siguro this whole change, this whole yeah, I mean the daily struggles that we are experiencing, that for me is uh parang may mga small failures in between that we can learn from. Ang importante kasi, Myrz, is we just take it, we don't overwhelm ourselves too much, but literally, sabi nga ni Dalai Lama, um, sobrang favorite ko tong sinabi niya, and it really struck me that there are two things that daw that we can't change. It's our past and our future. So what we have is our now. So
Right,
tama siya, di ba? Kasi, I mean, who knows what's going to happen to me tomorrow? All I know is I'm with you now. I
right,
can act and I can change my now, and I'll just do my best. Parang ganun.
right. And having survived breast cancer, I'm sure you realize how short life is, and I'm sure
Super.
I'm sure you have learned really how to live in the moment. Pengen naman ng tips for us who may not realize how life is. Like for me, na-realize ko yun when my best friend died and when my husband's father died. It really altered the way I tried to experience each moment. So,
Yeah.
case, can you give tips about how we can really appreciate each moment?
Just be present also at that moment. Because sometimes you're here, but you're thinking about other things. So I think focusing on your now, let's start from there, and then the rest will follow.
So, like right now, we are experiencing internet problems, but we are able to come back
Yes. Totoo yan.
conversation. Or maybe what can we appreciate about the quarantine instead of always looking at the negative?
I think relationships have been either strengthened or broken. But one thing I really
True.
learned is to really appreciate talaga what we have. So typical. A lot of us have learned how to appreciate plants. 'Di ba? All of us have,
Plants,
'di ba?
bread.
Uh, pero that was something na we weren't really, hindi natin yun na-appreciate before. So
Right, right,
it really took a major
right,
major disaster to really appreciate the small things that
right,
are in front of us, but we fail to see it kasi gusto natin dun agad tayo.
right,
Pero what we fail to see is, ito ako eh. Ito
right,
yung moment ko. So dito
right,
muna tayo. It's okay
right.
to plan, but be present in your now. That's very important.
So like maybe we realize living thing pala talaga yung plant kasi mahirap buhayin.
Yes, that's
Mali
true.
siyang mamatay bukas, and then we
Oo.
just destroyed our environment just like that, right? So maybe there's still hope for humanity to change. We have a question from Karen
From
Rico
Karen.
Valdez. How to cope with anxiety?
Okay. Anxiety can be a normal reaction to stress because that's something kasi that, of course, stress can either be good or bad. And whenever something happens, especially something that's uncertain, it would really cause us some form of anxiety. But again, I would always come from a proactive standpoint of being able to talk about it, acknowledging it, and being able to reach out for help. So that's very important in terms of dealing with anxiety.
All right. From Mitchie again, advice for parents whose kids are home 24/7.
Yeah, that's true.
Ay, ayan. Cabin fever. Go to school is a good time for silence. Now we are incubated, not intubated, incubated with MD.
Incubated with them. For
What's
coping,
your advice?
siguro inject me time also. I think you can practice quiet time in between, but really it's a conscious effort. I know you feel mitchy, but talagang you will really find your own quiet time within you, especially now.
From Bok
From
Nicolas,
Father Bok,
a
let's live our
Father
life to the
Bok.
full. There's no room for fears to enter. Ah, hello. Hello, Mamu.
More
Nako.
greetings from your fans.
Hello, Chrissy. Ayan. Hi, okay. Hi, Lian. Yan. Adopted child. Hello. Talaga naman. Hi, guys. And thanks for the
Oo
support.
nga, full force. So, how else can we make sure to keep our mental health in check besides these tips? In general, what's a good mindset to have so that
Right.
we're kind of okay mentally?
Having that growth mindset will 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 help. And when I say growth mindset, it's starting with the thought that things can change. However, we progress with the change also. So we don't remain stuck forever in this situation. This thing we have, this will change. And that no matter how rough things may be, how tough things may seem, we just have to go on, move forward, and just keep growing. And don't forget to reach out also, because at the end of the day, we have others who are willing to support us and help us.
Right. You like to talk about also your 3 R's: rest, reflect, reset. Can you
Yeah,
teach us how to
true.
do that?
Yeah,
Rest,
rest. Literally
reset.
rest, sometimes ida-drop mo lahat ng ginagawa mo and just rest. And then try to recalibrate also and realize that our mind needs that to be able to function again. Kasi hindi naman, we can't like be on, we're not machines to start with. Yung makina nga, nagko-conk out yan kapag nag-overheat. Lalo na tayo as individuals. So, that's it, Myrz. Okay, so nawala si Myrz. So, ayan. I'll answer muna yung mga questions while Myrz is logging back. So, from Ray, what is your advice to those who do their best but other people pull you down? Okay, alam mo yan, Ray. But for me, again, we can't please everyone. Pero ang point doon, as long as we do our part and as long as yung intention natin is good, meaning to say, it's hindi intentionally na i-pull down natin yung iba, that's what matters. Again, know that you've done your part and that basta good lang yung intention mo, just keep going. So, yeah. And for me, people will, we can't really please everyone. But that shouldn't be also a reason to stop an advocacy that will be of good to others and to ourselves.
Right. Or in general, kasi parang us Pinoys, we always, I mean, it's not bad to care what others think, but sometimes we care too much about what
Yeah,
others
that's
think.
true.
What's a general kind of advice or again mindset you can give about not really being overly caring about what other people think?
Okay. Sometimes kasi, it would really happen na kasi we all want naman to na okay lahat, no? But if it
Right.
already comes to a point na you're already questioning your self-worth, tapos ginawa mo naman yung part mo and ginawa mo yung best mo, I think ano yun again, let's go back to self-regulation and it's really a conscious effort you take, no? Na wala ka naman tinatapakan na tao, in that it happens.
Right. Okay, just to review May quiz mamaya. The top
Secret.
5 ways we should prioritize our mental health is: one, acknowledge how you feel; two, accept and face your stressors. Would it be good to identify them? You said that writing
Yes,
things down in a
identify.
journal
It's true.
is very helpful. Practice self-compassion, be kind to yourself. Don't compare. Ano pa? Be your own cheerleader.
And know your limits also.
Right.
Um, I think we should also anchor on those. Never forget those people who are supportive of you as well. Um, we sometimes magnify on the negativity so much that we forget about the people who support us. So I think we should also be conscious of that, and that will
Right.
actually help us cope. And that's what I'm undergoing.
Oh, wow. Do
May
tell.
sharing talaga.
Yes, please.
Kasi, for me kasi, parang things change. People may not really be for you all the time, and that's reality. But anchoring yourself on friends, on individuals who really care for you, support you, that really matters.
So if you have a support system, take care of
Super,
them the
yes.
way they take care of you.
Take care of them, appreciate them, and yeah,
While keeping your boundaries.
yes, yes.
And all feelings are valid, whether sadness, happiness, anger, envy, ano pa, irritation.
Happiness, diba? Um, we all have the right naman to be happy also. And
Right. Or maybe when we're guilty about being happy, we're thinking, ano kaya yung kapalit? Siguro may mangyaring masama or
yeah, that's true. Pero for me, I mean, again, let's not forget our present. That's one thing talaga I learned from the past. Kasi masyado akong sometimes ay talagang sobra naman overlooking ako na yun lang. What matters is what you have in front of you.
is it true what they say that depression means you're living in the past while anxiety means you're living in the future?
Uh
In a way.
they, some would describe it that way, and then some naman iba. So it's a different journey. It's again, it's there are different sides to it. But again, I will always go back to
To the
uh,
Dalai Lama.
to the Dalai Lama and the validity of how you feel.
Right.
Kasi ganun talaga yung feeling ng iba.
And when you do honor that feeling and admit it and face it, how do you not wallow? Or is wallowing a good thing?
It happens. Kasi kasi we all have issues, we all have challenges. And hindi ko rin naman sinasabi that you always have, no, you know, sometimes kasi you have to face it. Part of addressing your stressors is facing it, and again, trying to find solutions on what on sa present mo. Pero always anchor also on that hope that lilipas din, parang ganun
Right.
eh. So it's
Right.
really a balance also of how you feel, acknowledging how you feel, but at the same time, you anchor on something that is hopeful, that despite what's happening, uh, there will always be something also to look forward to that you can hang
Right.
on to, and that's hope.
Right. And in your case, since you survived a defying disease, how were you able to anchor, right? That lilipas din, matatapos din. And you've had practice that maybe you can share your technique with all of us. What do you anchor your hope on in this situation?
It's really again
Uh-oh.
yourself,
Ayan.
family, and again and yeah, it's really my family, and again my friends also who have been really supportive.
And finally, celebrate small wins as well as failures. So, at what point does one need to seek professional help? How do you
Oh,
know when
okay.
it's time to do that?
Pag dumadating na rin siya sa, well, again, let's be proactive about our mental health. No? But if it comes to a point then that it's already affecting the quality of your life, you can't seem to um, decide, or you start being deviant in terms of behavior, again, being a danger also to yourself and others, yun yung mga red flags already that um, kailangan na ng support.
And
May
where do you
question
suggest?
si,
Okay.
okay.
Low self-esteem. And this midlife crisis happened to all.
Yes, it does. And me kasi it can happen at any age.
Okay.
So parang it came to a point that it can happen anytime in our lives. But if and when it happens, you really have to start to reset and ask for support also if needed. Because again, hindi lahat ng bagay rin makakayanan natin sa sarili natin. And this is where feedback from people who matter can apply. Kasi there are also parts of ourselves na hindi natin nakikita sa sarili natin that others may see. So, yun, that's part. And yes, midlife crisis, it happens to all, Ray. Basta nandito lang
And if
ako.
they do, nandiyan lang si Doc Gia. You can follow her on Instagram at Gia Sison, Facebook at Doc Gia Sison, Twitter at Gia Sison, and giasison.com. And where do you suggest if they want to seek professional help? Where do you
Oh,
suggest
okay.
they do that?
We have the National Center for Mental Health. There's a crisis hotline, and I'll type it here. It's an
Okay.
advocacy I launched that
Okay.
you may access them there. It's a list of organizations they can
Okay.
run to.
It's okay to cry.ph.
Yeah. It's a
Oh, and
project
then
I
we
launched.
it's a project you launched.
It's a project I launched last October 10, together with Gigil and a lot of comedians. The main point is that because Comedy Manila is really something that I run to when I'm sad. But
Okay.
behind behind the laughter that they give, they also have their struggles. So I parang it was a concept that we wanted to throw out. Na it's okay to cry.
Right.
It's okay to feel bad. And it's not really happy all the time. And that's something that we need to honor. But at the same time, support is there.
Right.
Um, and never underestimate the power of help.
Right. Where else can they catch you? Wall Sesh is aired
It's
when?
on Spotify. Well, it's on Spotify, so that's Walwal
Okay.
Sesh. And we have fresh episodes every Tuesday and Thursday, but please check it out. We talk about everything under the sun. Um,
Right.
Walwal Sesh.
And you still have a show on CNN? G
Yes,
Talk?
G Talks on CNN Philippines. So tomorrow, so as we speak, ano bang day ngayon? Yeah, tama, tomorrow.
Wednesday.
So to Thursday, 2 p.m., G Talks is back, so you can catch it on the social media platforms of CNN Philippines, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at 2 p.m. And
Right. And
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 Makati Med opened a wellness center
oh
recently.
yes,
Yeah,
of which
so
you are the
happy.
head. Tell us about that.
So again, dito kasi nasabi, Myrz, na we choose to rise above. No, we've had
Right.
a tough year, of course, many more challenging days to come, but it's something that we want to reimagine. No? So
Right.
we opened the Makati Med Wellness Center last October 15 in hopes
Right.
to bring back wellness because again, let's go back. It all boils down to wellness. So it's located at Tower 1 of Ayala North Exchange. That's just right beside Makati Medical. And then it's open Monday to Saturday, 8 a.m. to 5. So
And what's in
check
the wellness center? What
everything. Yeah. The
services do they offer?
breast clinic is there, weight
Mhm.
management, health screening, ultrasound, everything. So
Okay.
check it out.
All
So it's
all
really
the
a new
things that you
concept.
need to check.
Yep,
And
yep,
if
yep.
and it's separate from the hospital. If people are afraid to go to the hospital, how can you reassure them that they shouldn't
Um,
be afraid?
Actually, frankly, the hospitals are the safest places. So, yung safety
Really?
protocol, yeah, the safety
Talaga?
protocol is
Okay.
really tight. Yeah, to
Okay.
begin with,
Right.
it's about time also that really it's really tight. Even sa aming doctors, it's really tight. So in terms of health and safety protocols, it's really all in place.
Wow.
So
That's nice to know.
yes, yes, no
Right.
worries. We're here to serve. But
Right.
it's really a new concept, and we're really happy to launch it, and it's open to everyone.
Congratulations on that. And thank you so much, Doc Gia, for joining me today and withstanding all the technical problems.
Thanks, Mears. More
Thank
power,
you.
and I'll see you again.
You too. In fact, we haven't actually met. I feel we haven't actually met in person.
Pero para di ba, we formed our friendship during
Right, right,
quarantine, di ba?
right.
Ayun. So, so Mears,
And
I'd
then,
like to also promote the hashtag
yes, yes,
rebuilding
please.
care and hashtag healthy normal. So that's what we use.
Thank you. Please type that in the comments so the people can follow. So again, thank you very much, Doc Gia.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone who watched, and see you again.
Thank you, everyone. This has been Ask Miss Mears. Thank you for bearing with the technical problems. I'll see you very soon. Bye.